4 reasons why we study the behaviour of the elephant orphans. Hi, I'm Lisa, and I'm the Head of Research for the Wildlife Rescue Department of Game Rangers International. We believe it's important to study and understand the behaviour of the orphaned elephants, not only to look after them at point of rescue and through their rehabilitation, but to give them the best possible chance of a successful release back into the wild of Kafue National Park. We've been collecting this data for 4 years and will continue to do so for these 4 reasons. Behavioural development is a complex and ongoing process. Understanding how the elephants behave at different ages and different stages of their development will help us establish behavioural developmental milestones. So, how do they behave when they've just been rescued? How do they behave when they've settled into the nursery? When they're ready to be moved to the release facility? When they're ready to take their first steps into the wild, or where they are wild in the Kafue National Park? For example, when you look at children, parents are judging their children by milestones, even subconsciously, right from the moment when they were born. When they first can sit up, when they can crawl, when they can walk, when they can talk. And then when they get to school, it's more formal kind of written down targets of this age they can read this many words, and this age they can solve this complex math puzzle. It's targets that they reach before they move on to their different school year or school class. And it's kind of this that we want to establish with the orphans. So it's not so much testing them, but just creating some kind of gauge that they can be measured against as kind of a checkpoint of different targets. And by having a pattern of how all of them behave, new orphans coming through, we can start to see how they measure up against the other elephants and also wild elephants as well. Informing management. When we have an understanding of these behavioural developmental milestones, we can actually use them to inform our management decisions. Everything that we do, we're trying to ensure that they have the best possible chance of a successful release back into the wild. So all of our management up until that point needs to speak to that goal, for them to be safely living in the bush as wild elephants. These can be very short-term management changes. We can notice something in the behaviour study that indicates that a female is in estrus. So we change a lot of our management SOPs around the orphans in a very short-term manner. So for those 3 days or 4 days, the keepers will be on high alert for excited rampaging wild bulls that might approach the orphan herd and therefore the keepers. So that's a very quick decision based on immediate feedback of the behaviour observation study. Long-term management changes might be looking at levels of human interaction early on. Orphans have a very varied level of interacting with the keepers early on. Some orphans might have to go in quarantine, and for the other orphans' sake might not be with them for quite some time. So they've had a prolonged early exposure to humans and friendly humans. And we have to look at how that then affects the long-term release success. And if there's anything that we can do in the middle of those two areas. So, when they're rescued, they can be only a couple of months old. And we've got many years until they reach 10 or 12 and they're ready to be released into the wild. What changes can we do on an individual level or a herd level to ensure that they then don't stumble into potentially dangerous humans in the Kafue National Park that they think are just fine because they've grown up with humans? So we have to look at each elephant's life history as well, and their experiences early on, and how that will affect their release success. The third reason why we study the behaviour of the orphaned elephants is looking at welfare. Once we have an understanding of an individual's behaviour compared not with the rest of the herd members but to themselves, so their behaviour yesterday or their behaviour last week, last month, this season, last year, we can start to see if there's any changes that could potentially mean a red flag of welfare. Often there can be behavioural signs that something is going on underneath long before any physical symptoms are present. So these kind of behavioural changes could be that they are withdrawing from social interactions from the other orphans, they're spending more time with the keepers or a particular keeper, they might be engaging in less behaviours, so less varied behaviours. So instead of drinking here, mud bathing, socialising, scratching, feeding grass over here, they're actually just slowly walking, feeding grass. It's different from their own behaviour. So it's like us, we change a little bit when we're not feeling very well. You know, before we're ill in hospital bed and we've got no muscle tone or whatever. It's the early warning signs, and the elephants can't say, I'm not feeling very well. But when they start to want more attention from the keepers, or they slow down, there's all these kind of signs that put together in a picture shows that there might be something else going on. And this is the time that we would talk to our vet department when we start to see a change in behaviour but not quite seeing any physical symptoms yet, just to be kind of on high alert that there might be something going on. For contributing to wider understanding of elephant behaviour. So most published elephant research out there is either based on captive situations such as zoos or wild populations. We feel we fall somewhere in between those two categories. The elephants aren't quite wild yet, and they are being managed by keepers, by our systems. We've got a very good individual understanding of each orphaned elephant. So we feel that we're in a very unique setting and a unique situation to contribute to academic understanding in a slightly different way than the published research that is out there. By putting this research out there and talking about it and discussing it, we're hoping that we can help other organisations similar to us who are aiming to release elephants successfully back into the wild. Just a quick recap of the 4 reasons why we study the behaviour of the elephant orphans. 1. Understanding behavioural development. 2. Informing our management. 3. Ensuring welfare. 4. Contribute to the academic understanding of elephant behaviour. We'll be creating many more blog posts and videos about the behavioural observation study, as well as our post-release monitoring research that we carry out on the older orphans. We'll also be producing videos and blogs about the other departments of Game Rangers International, such as the Resource Protection and the Community Outreach Department, giving you a greater understanding of the holistic approach that we take to conservation. So please subscribe to our channel, click on the bell to receive notifications of when we produce new videos. Thank you very much.